Not all prophecies tell of victory or defeat. Some only foretell an end. And in the old lands of Ireland, the end has a sound. Come, sit closer to the hearth. The nights are getting darker.
Dad, are ghost stories real?
That's a question people have asked for thousands of years. We tell these stories to remember, and sometimes to warn. The story we're telling tonight is one of the oldest warnings there is. The tale of a spirit whose cry is a harbinger of death. Our story takes place in the ancient lands of County Cork, Ireland, at the home of the noble O'Connor family. Lord Colm was a good man, loved by his people, and his pride was his son and heir, Ronan, a warrior with a laugh as strong as his sword arm. The nights at their castle were filled with warmth, stories, and peace. There, the family felt safe from all the evils of the world. They did not know that an ancient spirit, one bound to their bloodline for centuries, was watching and waiting. One night, as a storm gathered over the hills, a high-pitched sound pierced the darkness. It was not the wind. It was not a wolf. It was a cry of undiluted sorrow. A wail that seemed to carry the grief of the ages. Oh, what was that sound? Just the wind in the stones, my love. Go back to sleep. But as he lay there, a cold dread washed over him. He was an old man. He had lived a full life. He knew the legends. He thought of his own father and the night the wail had come for him 3 decades prior. The sound was the same, a sound etched into his very bones. He knew it as a son, and now he believed he knew it as its target. The cry of the Banshee. She had come, he thought, to announce his own end. The next day, Colm said nothing. He walked the castle walls, looking out over the lands he had ruled, making a quiet peace with his life. He felt no terror, only a solemn acceptance. His time was near. That evening he shared a cup of wine with his son, the conversation full of memories and unspoken goodbyes. That night, the wail returned, more despairing, more insistent. A heavy dread settled over the castle. It was then that Ronan developed a cough. A simple winter sickness, Colm thought, an ill-timed nuisance. He watched Ronan's training exercises where his timing was off and his sword was slower than usual. Colm looked into his son's glassy eyes, and he felt only a father's simple concern, his mind so focused on his own fate that he was blind to the true target of the spirit's cry. The next night, the keening wail returned. Closer this time, more desperate. The servants began to whisper. They barred the windows and spoke in hushed tones of the Cuine, the lamenting cry of the woman of the fairy mound. Lord Colm tried to keep the peace, but a heavy dread entrenched itself in the castle, and he began to notice a change in his son. The strength in Ronan's arm seemed to lessen. The light in his eyes began to dim. On the 4th night, the cry was no longer distant. It sounded as though it had come from just outside the castle walls, a lament of pure agony aimed at a single window. Inside the castle, Ronan lay in his bed. There was no devastating illness, no traumatic wound. He was simply fading away. Colm sat by his son's bedside, his heart heavy. He thought it a terrible cruelty of the gods that his strong, vibrant son should be taken by a sudden sickness on the very eve of his own prophesied death. Ronan looked at his father, his eyes full of love. "Do not be sad, father. I hear the most beautiful song." And in that instant, the terrible truth crashed down upon Lord Colm. The beautiful song Ronan heard was the wail that Colm had feared. The cry was not a summons for an old man whose life was full. It was a lament for a young man whose life was just beginning. The Banshee had not come for him. She had come for his son. And as Ronan drew his last peaceful breath, the terrible wail outside ceased. Silence fell over the castle, heavy and absolute. The prophecy was fulfilled.
That's really scary. She didn't hurt him, but she knew he was dying?
Yes, she did. The Banshee is not a monster that kills. She is a messenger of sorrow, a spirit bound by love and grief to the ancient families. She does not cause death, she only mourns it. Some say she was once a mortal woman herself, a gifted singer who died in great sorrow and whose spirit is now bound to grieve for the descendants of her lost kin. Once the person dies, she guides their spirits to the other world, where they can know peace forever. Next time, the magic is not a warning, but a challenge. We'll meet a young woman who must hold on to her love as he is transformed by a wicked fairy queen into a series of terrifying beasts. Don't miss the dark and courageous tale of Tam Lin. If you crave more tales that blur the line between this world and the next, join me every week in October for Spooky Season by the Hearth. From banshees to witches, each story will chill your bones and warm your heart. Subscribe and gather close. The fire's just getting started. Until next time, I am, as ever, your humble storyteller. May your nights be warm, your dreams filled with wonder, and your heart ever open to the magic of a good story.